This time on Landmarks, we visit the mysterious ruins of Teotihuacan. Witness the creation of a man-made island in the Gulf. Climb the Acropolis Hill in Athens to the Great Parthenon. And glimpse down the sheer cliffs of the Grand Canyon. But first, when in New York, all eyes are drawn to its incredible man-made skyline. And for the past 8 decades, there's been one building in particular that has drawn attention: the magnificent Empire State Building. A classic example of 1920s American optimism and enthusiasm for the modern age, the building remains, along with the Statue of Liberty, one of the city's enduring icons.
The Empire State Building sort of is the iconic structure in New York City. It represents New York City, and movies, television, whenever they want to do establishing shots and say they're in New York City, no matter where they're filming, they always include the Empire State Building. It's probably the most famous office building in the world. It's certainly the most easily recognizable symbol. You see the shape of the building and you know where you are, you know what it is.
And the building is a must-see tourist attraction. Its 86th floor observation deck, where city sounds fade to a distant hum, has a view which extends west to Pennsylvania and as far north as Massachusetts.
Most tourists come here for their first stop is the Empire State Building, and they kind of get a feeling for where they are. They can see Central Park, the Statue of Liberty. They know where everything is, so when they come back down to the street level, they have their legs and they can know where they can go. So you can't come to New York and not come to the Empire State Building.
Construction of the Empire State Building was one of the most remarkable feats of the 20th century. It took 7 million man-hours for just 1 year and 45 days from excavation to completion. Beginning in January 1930, it was officially opened on May 1st, 1931 by US President Herbert Hoover. He pressed a button in Washington to turn on its lights.
There she is, the Empire State Building. 102 stories high, and it took only a little more than a year to build. Even the Chrysler Building looks like an Austin compared to the new giant.
Born in the Great Depression, the Empire State Building has survived economic hardship, World War, labour strikes and terrorist fears. The workforce of over 3,000 workers was made up of Mohawk Indians, many of whom had an aptitude for working at enormous heights, and European immigrants. Built of steel and aluminium and faced with granite and Indiana limestone, it is 1,472 feet high from the footpath to the tip of its tallest antenna. It was for 40 years the world's tallest edifice, until surpassed in 1972 by the World Trade Center. It again became the city's tallest after the tragic destruction of the 110-storey Twin Towers on September 11, 2001. That day was not the first time a plane had crashed into a New York skyscraper. On July 28, 1945, a B-25 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building's 79th floor. 14 people died, but the building's structural integrity was not damaged. But just like Mount Everest, humans have had an overpowering urge to conquer the Empire State Building's peak. One of New York's most popular annual events is the Empire State Run-Up. The object is to run up the stairs faster than anyone else. While it attracts men and women runners from around the world, this event combines New Yorkers' natural instinct to charge the front of the queue and the urge to avoid waiting for a slow lift. There's 1,576 steps from the ground floor lobby to the observation tower. Most are in a rush to win, others take their time. Apart from the satisfaction of a job well done, the reward at the end is this magnificent view. Coming up, the mysterious ruins of Teotihuacan. From its foundation in the 2nd century BC to the present day, Teotihuacan in Mexico has occupied a powerful yet mysterious place in the consciousness of Central and South Americans. Situated in the highlands of central Mexico, a large valley 45 kilometres northwest of Mexico City, Teotihuacan was home to one of history's most sophisticated urban civilizations. Between 100 and 200,000 people lived here at its peak around 600 AD, making it one of the ancient world's largest cities, with an urban core covering some 20 square kilometres. Teotihuacan city streetscape is familiar to modern city dwellers. It was a complex urban grid filled with single and multi-floor apartment compounds. Yet little is known about the people who built the city or why they fled in the 7th century. The ethnic identity of Teotihuacan's inhabitants is not known. No writing system has been discovered there, even in the intricate iconography of its many painted murals. But after a National Geographic expedition started in the late 1990s, Teotihuacan began yielding some of its most closely guarded secrets. Archaeologists Saburo Sugiyama and Ruben Cabrera located 3 burial sites in Teotihuacan. They contain sculptural figures in green rock, skeletons of humans and animals, including pumas, wolves and eagles, all of which archaeologists believe were meant as sacrifices. We have found remains, but they were the remains of sacrificed people. They had many high-quality offerings, but we didn't find anyone who could be governor. Teotihuacan's allure to locals remains strong. It rivals Peru's Machu Picchu as Latin America's most visited pre-Columbian tourist attraction. According to prehistoric mythology, the pyramid represents the sacred mountain through which a being can enter and leave the underworld. The site is considered a mystical place in which energy is diverted to the people from the gods of Teotihuacan. Each March equinox, thousands of people gather to celebrate the arrival of spring in a ritual that has been carried out for centuries. There is such tranquility here. You separate from many things. One forgets about the everyday routine and comes here to recharge with energy and feel better. With some dressed in traditional Aztec garb, the crowds dance and burn incense to pay tribute to the gods of the ancient people in Teotihuacan. To be in contact with nature, recharge with energy, liberate oneself from the tensions of the city. You feel peace, everything is relaxed, you feel strong, charged with energy. Mexicans and tourists alike climb to the top of the Pyramid of the Sun to receive the first rays of sunlight, which is believed to purify their soul. Many mysteries remain in Teotihuacan. Investigators have found the pyramids and buildings close by, artefacts, a few pictographs, but no hieroglyphs or other writings of any kind. For reasons that remain a mystery, Teotihuacan began declining sharply around 650 AD and was completely deserted by around 750 AD. To find information is important so we can understand what the function of this building was in relation to the history of Teotihuacan at the beginning of urbanism and all the social problems since its early days until its decline. The search for answers will continue. Since ancient times, there have been 7 wonders of the world, but if the marketing hype is to be believed, the 8th wonder has arrived, Dubai's Palm Island project. And there's no doubting the world's largest land reclamation project in the United Arab Emirates is a remarkable construction and engineering achievement. Visible from outer space, the tree-designed Palm Jumeirah comprises a 2-kilometre-long trunk and a crown made up of 17 fronds. Each frond is home to a massive residential and commercial development. The 5-square-kilometre development maximises beach frontage, making it attractive to both buyers and property developers, who are a high priority for the UAE. 110 million cubic metres of sand and 7 million tonnes of rock have been used in the creation of this massive project, which has doubled Dubai's 67-kilometre long coastline.
By increasing the amount of beach space, it can attract real estate developers to these valuable beachfront properties. It can attract wealthy expat residents to come and live in Dubai.
But the opportunity to live alongside celebrities such as Michael Schumacher and Michael Owen comes with a large price tag.
You must remember that Dubai doesn't have a lot of oil. It only produces about 300,000 barrels a day. So Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, has taken this decision to try and diversify the economy by attracting tourists to Dubai, by attracting real estate developers, and trying to get away from this dependence on oil. So what Nakheel has done with this project, it has built the infrastructure, the actual palm itself, the fronds, the stem, and then it has sold the plots to developers from all around the world to come and build their buildings on it, and that includes, like I said, Kerzner, it includes the Trump Tower.
But others, such as the World Wildlife Fund, say there has been another price to pay for this remarkable feat of engineering. The only known coral reef off the shores of Dubai was destroyed during dredging work on the palm-shaped islands.
It has been detrimental for the natural environment of Dubai coast, especially at the place and at the location of the first Palm Island. That is a little bit of a shame, because there were a very good habitat there, there were possibility of recovery, there were possibilities of protection, there were possibility of using that natural asset to make something.
But again, the engineers claim to have an answer for what has been lost. Nakheel argues that most of the coral was dead to begin with, and that they've already set in place a larger, albeit artificial, habitat system to develop new coral reefs. The remains of 2 fighter planes, jumbo jets and 7 barges have been dropped onto the sea floor in a bid to attract marine life and create an underwater theme park for divers.
Many of the things that we have done, environment has been a major concern to us, because our management is really very much in favor of ecosystem sustainability, environmental conservation, and in fact these things are not slogans that we use for marketing, but they are part of our corporate culture.
Despite the fears, wealthy investors and businessmen are choosing tax-free Dubai as a place to enjoy their retirement on their own private beach.
The best bit is the sunrise. So this house is situated so when you come out in the morning, you're looking at the sea and the sun coming over the villas across the front, and that just feels fantastic. You know, the fact that you can walk down to the beach, put your feet in the water, swim across the front, which I've done twice. You know, it's just, you really wouldn't get it anywhere else in the world.
Coming up, the Great Parthenon. The Parthenon in Athens is one of the best-known landmarks in the world. Towering over central Athens on Acropolis Hill, it is known to be one of, if not the actual, birthplace of democracy. Built at the height of Greek civilization in the 5th century BC, the Parthenon remains an enduring reminder of its achievements and an architectural masterpiece that has influenced countless constructions ever since. Completed around 440 BC, the Parthenon was originally home to a huge gold and ivory statue of the goddess to whom the city was named and the temple was dedicated, Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Besides being the site of many superb interior and exterior artworks, its architects and sculptors were masters in science, mathematics and art. They created a building with perfect proportions. Its horizontal planes were imperceptibly curved, creating an intricate optical illusion. All Greek temples of the time were designed to be seen only from the outside. To viewers who could only glimpse the interior through its open doors, the columns appeared to float. The achievements of ancient Greek civilization remain an enduring inspiration to present-day Greeks. Some, as seen here, even continue to practice their ancient religions, praising, among other gods, Athena and Zeus. For 2 millennia, the building survived numerous disasters, both man-made and natural. But in recent decades, the Parthenon has had to battle 2 modern scourges: chemical pollution and tourism. Tourists' feet were eroding the marble floors. In the mid-1980s, with the support of the European Union, an ongoing restoration program began. Engineers took the 2,500-year-old temple apart piece by piece in order to restore the building to something of its former glory. Then Culture Minister, the late Melina Mercouri, oversaw the restoration program.
The Greek government and the Greek people are doing in the Acropolis are the most important. Because for us, as you know, as I have said 1,000 times, the Parthenon means for us our soul, our sense of democracy, our identity. And sure, the Parthenon belongs to everybody in the world, but first of all belongs to the Greeks.
Mercouri began lobbying the British Museum for the return of friezes and sculptures from the Parthenon's facade, the so-called Elgin marbles. In the early 1800s, then British ambassador to Greece, the Earl of Elgin, Thomas Bruce, received a controversial mandate to remove the Elgin marbles from the Ottoman Sultan. In 1816, they were purchased by the British Museum, where they have been ever since. And with the focus of the world on Athens during the 2004 Olympic Games, lobbying for the return of the marbles intensified. Athletes from around the world joined the cause.
Scotland has a great heritage, and I think it's only right that the Greeks should safeguard their heritage. And unfortunately, it was Lord Elgin that took the marbles, and I think it's appropriate for me to say that they should come back.
The return of the Elgin marbles has become a cause célèbre. In early 2007, students from around Greece circled the Acropolis as part of the Return the Elgin Marbles campaign. Now, with the completion of the museum near the Parthenon, it is hoped the British Museum will one day agree to the marbles' return to the site, which was their home for more than 2,000 years. The Grand Canyon in Arizona is a geological museum of epic proportions. In one panoramic sweep, you can see nearly half of the Earth's 4.6 billion year history. Erosion has exposed rock strata, ranging from the 1.7 billion year old Vishnu schist of the inner gorge to the pale Kaibab limestone deposited 250 million years ago. The Grand Canyon began to appear about 70 million years ago. It took another 5 to 6 million years for the wind, rain, ice, gravity and sediment-laden Colorado to widen the canyon to its present 10-mile average width. The earliest evidence of human activity stretches back 10,000 years. The area has long been an attraction to adventurers. John Wesley Powell was the first to consistently use and publish the name Grand Canyon in the 1870s. No matter what name it is known by, Grand Canyon is ever awe-inspiring. At the turn of the 20th century, President Theodore Roosevelt, a devout outdoorsman and park supporter, led the drive for the Grand Canyon to become a national park. In the decades after, the work of revered nature photographer Ansel Adams took the canyon's natural beauty to the broader public. The Grand Canyon was named a World Heritage Site in 1979. Now visitors will gain a different perspective from their ancestors to this amazing natural phenomenon. In early 2007, a glass-bottomed walkway perched 1,200 metres over the Grand Canyon was opened. The $40 million Skywalk was built by a private developer with the permission of the Wallapai tribe, whose ancestral lands adjoin the remote southwest rim of the Arizona Canyon. The controversial tourist attraction was opened by a man who knows all about having nothing beneath your feet. The second man to walk on the moon, 77-year-old Buzz Aldrin. The astronaut's few steps marked the official inauguration of the project, which backers hope will draw up to 500,000 paying visitors this year to the site some 190 kilometres east of Las Vegas.
It really doesn't compare that much to walking in space. We're walking on very firm, transparent glass that's very well built, and it gives you an open air sense of freedom from the natural walls onto the artificial walls that have given people the freedom to be able to look out left, right, up and down, and to see a truly majestic view.
Traditionalists say the construction violates the hallowed natural landscape of the canyon, which is central to the tribe's creation stories. But supporters say the walkway will create hundreds of jobs for tribal members.
I would regard myself as a traditionalist, and when I weigh the concerns of building on the canyon, the benefit far outweighs the concerns I have in regard to the environment.
The horseshoe-shaped steel pathway, which is paved with 90 tonnes of toughened glass, is cantilevered 21 metres out over the lip to give visitors a view of the Colorado River Valley below. Visitors are assured of enjoying the majestic view, just as past generations have done before them.